Hello and
Hello,
welcome. I'm Andrea Park,
and I'm Alexa Dimitru.
and this is How I Escaped the Mental Prison. It's a podcast where we explore real life stories of overcoming life's inevitable challenges because none of us are immune from them and how these experiences shaped our journeys. Today, we have with us Dr. Unati Jain. She is a impactful keynote speaker, TEDx presenter, an author known for inspiring audiences at organizations, schools, colleges, and universities. As an experienced life coach, Dr. Jane works with teens, parents, and adults, guiding them toward personal growth and success. Her insights on behavior and generational dynamics provide invaluable tools for creating positive change, both in personal lives and workspaces. Her next upcoming book, Everything Begins with You, further explores the themes of self empowerment and growth, offering readers a roadmap to unlocking their inner potential. Thank you very much for being with us today. It's a great pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Alexa, for having me. It's an absolute joy to be here.
So, let me ask you, why coaching and why teens or young adults?
So I think everybody has a story, and I'm no different. My story began about 13 years ago as a single woman and an immigrant, and in a country that I couldn't call my own. I was left with a 7-year-old when I went through a broken marriage. And as he was growing up to become a teenager, I trembled. I was scared. I was petrified. I didn't know how I was going to handle it. Raising him single handedly. So, as he touched 10, 11, I started studying behavioral science. I focused on teenage behaviors and generational behaviors just to understand my child better. And then one thing led to another. And as I started doing my doctorate, I realized I started attracting a lot of youth for coaching and parents. And I just knew this was it. This was my purpose. And I never stopped after that. Why coaching? Because I think it's a very rewarding and meaningful experience. Um, and why young adults and teens? A few reasons. I think desire to make a difference. Young adulthood is a critical period of personal growth and decision making. And coaching this age allows you to have a profound impact on their lives, helping them to navigate challenges, build confidence, and make choices. Um, I think coaching is also very stigmatized at some level. Um, People think that coaching is about advice, whereas coaching is not about advice. Coaching is about providing clarity by asking the right questions to take your mentee or your coachee where they want to go rather than where you want them to go. And the reason it's very, very impactful with young adults is which teenager or which young adult or which human wants to be told what to do? Nobody wants to be told what to do. So when we coach our young adults and when I put forward my 52 different concepts that I work on, one concept at a time, asking them what they feel about the particular concept, maybe like attitude, and then providing clarity, asking them the right questions, giving them those aha moments, and then setting goals, they see visible growth. And that is the reason I focus on teens, because teens and young adults, these are our leaders of tomorrow. I empathize with their struggles. I have interest in the future of these generations because they're the ones who are going to be leading us. Um, and that's some of the reasons that I do what I do.
I think it's really important that our generation, my generation, because I'm 21, um, has a little bit more guidance because I feel like not only have we experienced a lot of life that has not been experienced in 100 years because of a pandemic, but we have parents that were raised in a certain way to not accept coaching and to not accept therapy
Yep.
and that, everything is okay and your mental illness is not real and all of these beliefs. And somehow I've noticed in a lot of my friends and close by people that we are very lost as a generation. Even though we are very accomplished and we know what we want, and we have a more out of the box thinking about life, we're still so lost.
Yeah.
So lost.
Adulting is hard.
Yeah.
Unless and until somebody comes and tells you how to pay a credit card bill, you're not going to know.
Yeah.
Unless and until somebody comes and tells you that doubting yourself is normal, but having those buddies who can support you through the way is not going to raise your confidence. Life is hard. And I always tell our young adults, life doesn't get better. Life doesn't get easier. You get better. So guidance is absolutely essential to have those aha moments, to figure out what life is all about. Do I want to take this career or do I want to take that career? What is it that my values are? What do I stand by? If I want to be in a relationship, what are the values that I want in my partner? We don't think about things like that. These are not things that our generation thought about. We liked a person, we jumped into it, right? But who takes the time to actually sit down and say, all right, so I'm going to get a partner. In my partner, I want honesty, I want respect, I want commitment, I want love, I want somebody to see me and hear me. We never sit and look at these things. So when we don't look at these things, we jump into wrong relationships, right? And that's where coaching comes in. To identify what is your value system. Who are you hanging out with? Are those people lifting you up? What is killing your self-confidence? What is taking you towards self-doubt? You want to make $1 million a year. Why is it that you're making 20,000? What is it that's coming in your own way? Are you coming in your own way? What is the belief that was set by you, your parents, society, your caregivers, or friends or family? So I totally agree with you, Alexa. Life is hard. And guidance is essential. And that guidance, when it comes in the form of coaching, it's even more impactful because it's not somebody telling you what to do. It's you realizing what you need to do.
So this idea of nature versus nurture,
Mm-hmm.
where does that play into this generation? Is it, where are most of the problems coming in?
Say that one again, one more time.
Where are the problems coming in for people of my generation? Is it more of a nature issue, or is it more of a nurture and familial household issues?
So there are two aspects to this. First, let's look at
Mm-hmm.
the nature issue. Nature issue, Gen Z's brains are wired for the digital age. The exposure to technology, constant multitasking has influenced how their brains function. They have innate personality traits, which are traits like introversion. They're not extroverts because they've constantly been on technology. They're openness to experience, but they're also very neurotic in their thinking. Now, they have some of the basic biological needs for sleep, food, social connection, but they're unable to fulfill those needs. Now, this is all nature that we're talking about. Now, let's talk about nurture. Nurture encompasses, what does nurture do? It encompasses cultural, social, and environmental factors that influences a person's development. Correct? Do you agree with me?
Yes. Yeah.
So the most defining characteristic of a 21-year-old, such as you, Gen Z, is their immersion in digital technology from a very young age. This environment has helped shape their social behaviors. What has it done to their communication style and social behavior? It's made them introverts. It's made them hide behind a screen. They've grown up in a time of heightened awareness for global issues, climate change, social justice, political polarization, all of these things. All of these things, they've identified themselves as global citizens, but they're unable to break away from their nature characteristics to jump into the nurture characteristics because they have such high economic pressures. And not to mention that the parenting styles of Gen X and millennials is also completely different what Gen Z is actually looking for. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. And now it makes me think, what does that mean for my generation's children? What are my kids going to look like? How can I, in an increasingly technology-filled world, how am I going to avoid those horrible dopamine addiction characteristics in my children?
So I would go back to, and I always say there are certain things that each generation does, which some resonate with us, some don't resonate with us. But there are certain things that baby boomers and Gen Xers and did that were also good. For instance, I'll give you examples on what the people that I coach, or my own son for that matter. When he was growing up, we had very, very strict boundaries. And I think the one thing that we can do as in all generations is establish those boundaries. Establish those strong boundaries. Why? Because as much as Alexa, you are bright and beautiful and young and go-getter and amazing, your brain is still not completely developed, and you will still struggle to create those boundaries on your own. Those boundaries need to be created for you. So your mother or your caregiver needs to be stronger than the 21-year-old. Because what are you looking at? You're looking at your mother for security, safety, boundaries, good health, advice, and all of the above. So if she's not stronger than you, and if she cannot hold your own on her own, then that makes you anxious and super insecure. So to answer your question, what does it mean for your children? It means that you need to be a very, very strong woman to raise a child who is as strong as you are to face the world.
So then what does that mean for the generation before me? Because not everybody has a mother as I do, right? And I'm very blessed to have someone who is as strong as my mother and who, my mother,
Right.
Not everybody is so blessed. So how do we break those generational curses that just lead to more generational curses and passes everything down the line?
By identifying what the curse is, by going deep within yourself, by for instance, I'm running this workshop, which is Everything Begins with You, which I'm a complete believer of, that you can change the world if you change yourself. Together, leading a movement, believing that everything actually does begin with you, and everybody has trauma, and everybody has their past, and everybody has their limiting belief systems. But if we don't eat, drink, smoke, party our emotions, and we're willing to look at them, and we're willing to address them, and we're willing to work with them, there is nothing we can't achieve together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, going back to those limiting beliefs, you have a list of limiting beliefs, and before we started, you asked me to take a look and to analyze. And I just want to get your insight on where those limiting beliefs came from.
Some of them are inherent, some of them are generational, some of them are just human. Some of them have been given by society, family, upbringing. Could be multiple ways. I mean, we're human and we come with a belief system. When we are born, we are surrounded by different generations, different types of people who live life differently. And each of those people who we grow up with have a deep impact on our upbringing. And somewhere it leaves a mark on us. Some we take, some we fight. The one we are not able to fight become our limiting belief. The ones we are able to fight, we are able to change. That makes sense?
Yeah. And now I'm thinking, because there were a few that you were particularly asking me to look at and to analyze within myself. Now, the answer I gave you was, I don't think so. Now, how can I, as a young person, explore within myself and be aware of this thing within me that I don't necessarily know is there?
Good question. Excellent question. Create space around you. And what I normally do is whenever I'm coaching, I'm also a yoga and a meditation instructor. So I use a lot of meditation strategies in my coaching practice. What we normally do with the client is we create space and we meditate together for 5 minutes. And as we meditate, we download on what is it that's stopping me today to move forward. So let's say I was to sit here and meditate with you for 5 minutes and just focus on my breath. And the one thing that comes to me is, Unnati, you're feeling very anxious today. And then I ask myself this question, why are you feeling anxious? Maybe the election. What about you? What about the election is bothering you? Maybe I'm scared women's rights are going away. When you ask yourself these counter questions, you create space and you ask yourself these counter questions, you get answers to the why of the behavior. Now, the what and the how of the behavior come much later, but at the beginning, we need to understand the why of the behavior. Once we've understood the why, then it's easier to do the what and the how. But if you create space, exercise is one of the best ways to figure out your answers. Whether that could be running, yoga, walking, but just creating space so that normally what happens is we are so caught up in the noise with people, things, activities that we are scared to sit still, because when we sit still, emotions come up. And we're not used to those emotions and we don't want to deal with those emotions. So if you want to identify something, sit still. Emotion will come up. When the emotion will come up, you'll know why you're not moving ahead. And then once you've identified why is it that you're not moving ahead, you address that behavior with a coach, with your parent, with whatever is your best mechanism.
I think for me personally, that sitting still issue comes back to the dopamine addiction, right? Because I often find myself, and I have to actively check my brain and say, stop doing that. I'm watching something, or, I'm just simply relaxing, watching a movie, something, and I'm scrolling on my phone at the same time. And I have to be like, hello, one thing at a time. Why am I doing so many things at a time? And oftentimes, even when I'm walking, or even when I'm trying to create that mental space for myself, I'm still listening to music, or I'm people watching. I mean, there's nothing, it's hard to really sit and just not think about anything.
So a few things. It's not possible not to think about it. It's just not humanly possible.
Right.
Okay. It's about managing your thoughts. The reason that you're addicted to dopamine is because you're not used to sitting still, feeling your emotions. So you either watch TV, your emotions, social media, your emotions, eat your emotions, drink your emotions, talk your emotions. Fair? Yes. So you're living mindlessly versus mindfully. There are two different things. There is to live mindlessly and there's to live mindfully. If you live mindfully, then you're conscious of what you're doing. When you're conscious of what you're doing, you're able to stop that activity. You continue that activity because you are not conscious of what you're doing. You're just doing. You identified a topic in those 52 concepts that we talked about. One of them was motivation. Motivation and discipline are two sides of the same coin. You can't always be motivated. It's not possible. There's no human in the world who's constantly motivated. But there are humans in the world who are very disciplined and who can be constantly disciplined. So to get over the dopamine addiction, if we were to not look at motivation, but look at discipline, I am not going to touch my social media from 10 to 2. I'm not going to go near the phone. You establish habits. When you establish habits and you hold yourself accountable, you move away from motivation and move into a habitual behavior guided by discipline. When you're guided by discipline, then you begin to live mindfully rather than mindlessly. When you begin to live mindfully, then you don't do multiple tasks at the same time. You give your best to one task at a time.
Right. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just processing. Yes.
Okay.
I have another. What I find very difficult is I do everything myself in my work. I create everything. I do everything. And that makes me have a lot of thoughts, and my mind is often racing at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And oftentimes I get very overwhelmed and then I avoid.
Correct.
And no matter how much discipline or motivation I have, sometimes I just shut off.
Mhm.
And that's when I say, okay, time to go for a walk, time to get some air, some vitamin D, and just get away for a second.
Correct.
And sometimes I feel like that interrupts my discipline in a way.
Mhm.
And I find that balance to be very tricky.
Correct.
So, yes.
A few things are happening here.
Mhm.
One, like anybody else, when you're a businesswoman, you're running faster than yourself. You have 50 million things to do, and you want to do everything yesterday. Fair?
Mhm.
It's just a
Absolutely.
normal behavior, right?
Yeah.
So again, discipline comes in very handy here. 1 point. 2, self-care is a very important part of today's living. And I think the one thing that we all forget is you are your biggest investment. There is no bigger investment than you. Imagine if you fell sick today, you fell down today, you broke your leg today. What happens to the business? Nothing. So who should be given priority? Your business or you? First point, right? So the first thing we need to do is, I am my biggest investment. I'm going to wake up in the morning. I'm going to have my nice cup of coffee. I'm going to meditate for a few minutes. And then I'm going to make a priorities list on what I absolutely need to do today. Because I don't want to be in a rat race. I want to accomplish everything. But at the same time, I'm a machine. If I fail, my business fails. When you make yourself the biggest priority in life, everything else you attract instead of chase. And the biggest mistake we humans make is we don't give ourselves importance. We put ourselves last. What does it mean to have a self-care routine? It doesn't only mean running yoga exercise. It means asking for what you need, asking for help, creating those boundaries, learning to say no, identifying when is it that you need to drink water, when is it that you need to go out for a walk, when is it that you need to tell that friend that what you said to me I didn't like, or when is it that you need to turn around and tell your mom, this is not resonating with me. I need you to give me some more time. I'm missing you. All of these things are self-care. So When we make ourselves a priority, everything else we begin to attract instead of chase. And then anxiety goes away. And then we don't need the dopamine. And then we don't need the motivation because we have the discipline and we are our biggest investment. So we focus on us. If we are feeling anxious, we say, all right, Alexa, why am I feeling anxious? Let's identify it and let's address it. Am I scared of saying something? Am I scared of doing something? Okay, let's step into fear.
Recently, I went to a Reiki session, and right after we finished, she said, "What are you afraid to say, and what are you afraid to hear?" And that was 3 weeks ago, and I've been thinking about it probably every day, and I cannot. I just can't piece together what it is there that she saw that I don't know.
Create space, go for a walk, identify.
And now I feel like I have so much on my plate that I somehow feel like I'm not doing anything correctly.
No, you are where you're supposed to be, Alexa. Don't doubt yourself. That's the first thing.
Yeah. I agree with that too. Yeah.
You're absolutely where you're supposed to be. So you're neither ahead nor behind. You're just where you're supposed to be. But like I say, life is hard. Life doesn't get easier, you get better. And that's what's happening to you, is you're getting better.
Right.
But growth is uncomfortable. Growth is hard.
Absolutely. Yeah, growing pains. There's growing pains everywhere.
I'm sorry, I'm hot, so I'm going to take this out.
No, of course. I wish we had that problem. It's very cold over here.
Oh no, it's 80 degrees today over here, from 40 to 80. I think United States is having big mood swings right now. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So back to those key concepts. Why are those so important that we recognize within ourselves?
Because those are the ones that stop you from meeting your maximum potential. We all have potential. We all have unlimited potential. Andrea, Alexa, me, everybody has untapped potential. If we look at all of these concepts and we want to become the best version of ourselves, we always have two choices. Either we can sit in the comfortable and take what life throws at us, or we challenge life. We address all of these concepts and say, I'm going to achieve greatness by addressing all of these concepts. It depends on who do you want to be.
Right. And I think a lot of people, young people, again, growth is hard and life is hard. A lot of my friends, they don't know what they want. And I think I got it so easy because it just sort of fell into my lap. But I don't know what I would have done if I had to sit and find what I was interested in.
Yeah.
How can someone my age begin to piece together what they want from this life?
Ask questions. Question everything. Find your voice. Self-advocate. Don't take anything for granted. Don't take anything at face value. Question it. If it doesn't resonate with you, question it. The more you question, the more you self-advocate, the more clarity you'll find on what is it that you want.
But I think you always knew what you wanted at different levels. Remember when you wanted acting?
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying, because I was blessed in that way, but many people aren't. And I don't even know, that's what I'm saying. I don't even know where I would begin. to think about those things. Like how we're asking questions is the only way to begin to tackle that problem.
Correct. Question everything.
Yeah.
And one of your concepts that really resonated with me was thankfulness.
Mhm.
Among the other ones that were fear and thinking outside of the box, that were, more tangible issues. Where does thankfulness fall in life progress?
I'm going to say number one, and I'll tell you why. Gratitude turns what we have into enough, especially with your generation, which is a very anxious generation. We're always living in the future. We're always wondering about what is it that we don't have? What is it that we can do better? What gratitude does is takes what you have and says, Alexa, you have enough. You have nothing to worry about. So anxiety goes away. So if I wake up in the morning and I'm anxious in my bed and I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do through the day? How am I going to make money? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? And I look out the window, I'm like, Unnati, you're alive. You have a warm bed to sleep in. You have food on the table to eat. You have sunlight coming in through the window. All of a sudden, life takes a turn and says, wow, Unnati, you have such a good life. Versus, damn, I don't have this and I don't have that and I don't have that. Now, how am I going to spend my day? So gratitude is a tool to increase your self-esteem, to build empathetic relationship, to reduce anxiety, and to feel like what you have is enough, but you can take that enough to create more. Because then you're coming from a place of abundance and not scarcity.
Right. I always, when I catch myself thinking too much about what I'm doing or what my next steps are or what I'm going to do with this pattern or with this fabric, I stop and I say, what a pleasure it is to have this problem.
Yeah.
What a pleasure it is to think, what am I going to eat for dinner? What a pleasure it is to think, what am I going to do with this fabric? Or, I mean, it makes life so beautiful.
Correct.
And it makes you understand that your problem is not such a problem, it's a pleasure.
Right.
And you oftentimes I forget why I'm doing what I'm doing. And it makes me realize what I have and how I have so much of it. And I have
that's
so
gratitude.
much to be grateful for. Yeah.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it'll take away your misery.
Yes.
You don't be,
Just like
you're
that.
not miserable anymore.
Just like that.
Yeah.
What a pleasure it is to breathe and to have this problem and to think about this thing and to work out this puzzle. It's something that I use the most, and I think there's never enough gratitude and thankfulness.
Yes, I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you.
And now that we're approaching the end of our time together, I want to ask you, what is something that someone in my shoes needs to hear if they feel lost?
You're perfect just the way you are. Don't try and be somebody else. There is only one of you. You're unique. You have untapped potential. It's how you make use of it. So don't try and be someone else. Be you. The world will adjust.
That is awesome. I love that. The world will adjust. That is awesome. I really like that one. Thank you so much. And tell the people, tell the listeners where they can find you. And of course, all the information will be in the description.
Yes, and before that, tell us about your upcoming programs,
Yes.
which
Yes.
are amazing for teens and for women and please tell us and give us all the links where people can attend your amazing events.
Absolutely. So I have a website, which is unnatijain.com. It's going to be posted along with the podcast. I am running a workshop on December 15th at 12:30, which is called Everything Begins With You. It's specifically designed for women, mothers to be, or any woman who along life begins to doubt herself, is unable to say no, create those boundaries, and unable to step into her power. This is specifically designed for women. And if you're unable to attend, it's only $25. If you're unable to attend, we also send a replay your way. And that's happening on December 15th on at 12:30 in the afternoon. It's a Sunday. And then that is going to be the launch of my group coaching program, which is a super, super exciting program. My group coaching program is again called Everything Begins With You, because this is all around my upcoming book, which is called Everything Begins With You. So the group coaching program is for women who are tired of living by others' expectations. They want to step into their power. They want to reclaim their life and know that they'll get back, you know, that we have their back every which way. It will bring together women from different walks of life. These are normally high achieving women who again somehow begin to doubt themselves in a male dominated society, or because of what they've been taught, or because of the culture that they come from. So the group coaching program is designed for these kind of women. We come together as a community. We will have a support community where you will get coaching from me once every Sunday, so 4 times a month, along with a group of other women who will come together, and we will be addressing questions back and forth once a day. So that's my group coaching program. And of course, I do one-to-one coaching for teens, adults, and parents. And it's all information is on my website.
Thank you so much.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of
Thank you
course.
so much for being with us. And it would be a fantastic way to continue these types of conversations for people to um, get the best of your wisdom.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Andrea, and I appreciate you, Alexa. I really appreciate coming on this podcast. You guys taking the time to spend with me. Yeah, and if there's anything I can do, Alexa, if you'd like to schedule a call, I'm happy to even drop in that link. Go ahead, schedule that call with me, and you know, let's take your journey to the next level.
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being with us.
Of course. Thank you, Andrea. Loved having you. Thank you.
you.
Bye-bye.